Hello and welcome to game 3. I enjoyed this game a lot. There are no extra, you know, 11th card or what you see in the kingdom here is what we have. So we have some draw. We have a heap of draw actually. Silk Merchant, Envoy Witch. We have an action source in the Snowy Village. We have Trashing and Remodel and Monastery. There's also an action source in the Silk Merchant. And I do end up using the Silk Merchant as a village here. Well, the villagers from the Silk Merchant to support my draw and remodeling. It looks like remodel will be important in this game. It trashes early and it can help end the game quickly as well. And ending the game is important here, I think, because actions are limited. There's only a pile of 10 Silk Merchants that will run out at some point. And before that runs out, we should try to have the game done and dusted. Remodel is helpful for that. So I wanted to open with remodel here. I see great potential for it in the beginning, in the end, and in the middle. I'll find something to do it in the middle, probably along the lines of remodeling Silk Merchants to make use of the extra villager I get from trashing the Silk Merchant. Okay, so my opponent opens with a Silk Merchant. To be honest, I did not see the Silk Merchant opening on 4, but that is absolutely right. Silk Merchant for me, and I will pair it with a remodel. They pair it with a monastery. I do want a monastery, just not now. The monastery will be used to trash copper. I was thinking remodel monastery before I saw the Silk Merchant play, but Silk Merchant remodel has to be better. And here's where we have a series of good turns. So 3 for my opponent um, is going to be, I think, this is Snowy Village for them. No, oh right, they have the coffer. They get a remodel and they trash one of their estates. I get to 5 of my Silk Merchant, which is tremendous. That's very good because that means I get a witch. And my opponent misses their 5. I mean, they could have kept their coffer last turn and would have hit 5 on turn 4 there. But they chose not to, and they get another Silk Merchant instead. Now my remodel shows up with an estate, exactly what I wanted. I go for a Snowy Village first and a monastery with the 2 copper that I have. Turn 5, brilliant hand, absolutely brilliant, as my opponent gets to a witch themselves. I don't have to spend any villagers here because I don't even have 4 actions in the deck. Look, 1 left over. Find my remodel on top of that, so I get a Silk Merchant, another one, 2 for me now. And on 3, I think I will go ahead and purchase another Silk Merchant. At this point, I could think about Envoy, but I wanted a few more villagers before I got the Envoy. So I go ahead and I take another Silk Merchant instead of the Envoy. Monastery trashing 2, and that's what you like to see from Monastery. It come with a remodel so that I'm able to trash 2 cards. Remodel for my opponent, they turn an estate into a Silk Merchant, buy a Snowy Village themselves. Silk Merchant into Witch for me, and I stop here. I don't want to burn my villagers here unnecessarily. I feel in the back is my Snowy Village and the remodel. I thought that's good enough to keep here. It's not worthy villager, I think, to go looking for those cards. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was my thought here. 4, I'm just going to pick up a solitary Silk Merchant at this point. No, here's the Envoy. Here's the Envoy. Now is the time for the Envoy. Yeah. Now is the time for the Envoy. So the structure of the deck that I see here is that I will play with 2, maybe 3 draw cards, an Envoy, a Witch, and maybe I'll keep 1 or 2 Silk Merchants, but I will churn through the Silk Merchants with my remodel, with buying them, and use the villagers to support the draw of my Envoy and my Witch. No villagers left for my opponent, so they probably want to buy a Silk Merchant here. That makes sense to me. They do get that, and I think they get a snowy village. Yeah, they get a second snowy village, which I understand. You want to see the snowy village early. That's not always going to happen. Um, so if you have two of them, it increases your chances of that happening. Look at the envoy. Look at the great work done by the envoy. Skip my witch. I could go find it if I want, but I don't think it's with the villager. I get rid of my last estate here and buy another silk merchant, I believe, trashing 2 coppers along the way. So I now have 4 or 5 of those silk merchants. Good draw. I could definitely draw through the deck. My opponent is a bit thin on villagers themselves, and there's only one silk merchant left. So, we have to be careful. Once those run out, we rely entirely on Snowy Village. Not the most reliable of villages. There goes the last silk merchant. And a silver for my opponent, trashing 2 with their monastery. Look at this beautiful envoy. I'm so happy I bought that envoy when I did. It has done tremendous work for me. I draw through my deck with the witch and the envoy. I convert a silk merchant into a gold. No, no, no. Here's why I make a play. Yeah. I convert a silk merchant into a remodel. Draw that remodel. Remodel another silk merchant into a gold now. Then draw that gold. So I get some villagers, 2 villagers for that, plus a gold. Okay, so here is where I make a dubious buy. This is the turn that I'm most shaky about in my mind. I thought about building up a little bit more here, getting a gold, maybe another envoy at this point, but I didn't do that. And looking at the board now, I feel like I should have done that. But I went for a province instead to try to get the game over quickly. I noticed that I had a lead in development over my opponent. I ended up with more silk merchants. I ended up trashing more quickly than them. And I am also running out of villagers. So I said, all right, let's try to end this thing as quickly as possible. I have the 2 remodels. I have the gold. I have a lot of advantage right now. Let me try to make use of it by pushing the game to an end very quickly. So they get a gold of their own here by remodeling a silk merchant, and they buy an envoy and a silver. So a very good turn for them. I have a great start in hand here. Snowy Village into envoy is perfect. My deck is good enough now. So that, they can't really skip all the good cards from the envoy reveal. This is a little unfortunate, maybe. I should have used a villager so I could play the second remodel, but I wanted to save the villagers and I couldn't really calculate if I would need one more there. In the end, the remodel goes unplayed. I pick up another province and trash the curse out from my deck as well as the last copper. So my opponent, they see their snowy village and their envoy straight away. Good for them. Very good for them. And they do start on the provinces here. Gets a second gold off a remodeled silk merchant. And they're not that far behind, or not as far behind as I thought they were. They are in a decent position. Alright, I see the end of my deck. Envoy is at the bottom, which is no good, but whatever. It happens sometimes. I remodel. So, alright, I have choices here, right? I could do remodel province into province, remodel province into province by province. That would leave the province pile at 2. And I would only go up by 6 points, so I would be at 17. They would be at 4. So they would need both provinces to win, I think, because they could trash that curse from their deck very easily with the monastery. That's why they have 4 points, I think. or they could trash 2 curses from their deck easily with the monastery. So it says they have 4, but you have to treat it as 6 because the curses disappear very quickly. So I thought, look, that'll lose for me because I wasn't able to trash my curse here, or so I thought anyway. So I decided to put the game in a position where there's no way my opponent can end it. So I take one province, I remodel one province into province. Here I try to see if my opponent will give me the curse, and they actually do. So I do get to trash it. The right discard there was the province, so the curse would be kept into my deck. But they give me the curse, so I trash it out happily, and I buy a last province. Does eat up all my coffers, but there are just 3 provinces left, and I have to remodel, so we don't need money. We just need remodels at this point. Okay, so I discard their gold there. I think that was an easy choice. The Snowy Village isn't very helpful for them. And they go ahead, and what do they do here? I think they take some number of duchies at this point, because what else is there to do besides take duchies, right? Is that the play? This starting hand for me looks a little scary, but maybe I draw into one of my draw cards. I have 2 Silk Merchants, an Envoy and a Witch, so literally 50-50 to pull a draw card there. Yeah, so there goes remodel Silk Merchant into Duchy. There goes one more Duchy. And yeah, just double Duchy, Monastery trashes our curse, passes it back. Alright, so we don't see a draw card because, you know, why? That would just be too easy, you know? What would you do here? What is the play? You could remodel gold into province. I do it. And remodel province into province. I do go for it. Alternatively, I could have, you know, not again touch the provinces because they can't get 3 provinces to end the game. I could have gone for a duchy and a mill or something, but that really didn't seem attractive. I decided to just go ahead with my plan of ending the game quickly, pressing my advantage in deck development, which turns out to be, you know, as not as big as I thought it was. Look at what's happening here. What is the discard here? This is not straightforward at all. Do you discard the Snowy Village, the Silk Merchant, the Gold, or the Remodel? I go for the Silk Merchant in the end. I mean, you don't want to give them Remodel and Gold, but you also want to give them the draw. I think I checked, and if I gave them the draw card, they could draw back into whatever it is I discard anyway. So I think I had to discard the draw card here to prevent them from drawing back into a remodel potentially or a gold potentially. Because remodel, if they win the game, that remodel needs to be used. I could just discard it right here. But I think they'll just draw it back if I discard it. Well, at least that's what I calculated anyway. So I discard the Silk Merchant and hope they don't draw all the way through their deck, so they don't have enough gas in the tank to end the game. But it is actually very close. They need province double duchy to win, and they can do it. They can do it. If they remodel one of their gold into province, they still have 1 gold and 2 silver and 2 coffers. That's 9 money. I checked the trash quickly. Nobody has coppers. They don't have any more money. I was so close. I was so close. If I had lost this, I had nobody else to blame but myself. And I didn't even calculate that they had less money before I made my play last turn of gold into province, province into province. So anyways, we get away with some hasty play there and some play without too much calculation. They don't have a win any other way, I think, and they spend some time thinking here. They don't see a win either. So, with a sigh of relief, I know my next turn is going to be play Silk Merchant, find the Envoy that's at the bottom of the deck, play Envoy, and I have too many good cards in the deck for them to discard anything meaningful. Double reveal of remodel seals the game for me. Alright, so they can't win, so they buy 2 duchies instead and hope that I brick, but no, I brick last turn, I'm not bricking this turn. There's the double remodel and there's the resignation. So we take game 3 there. I underestimated my opponent's position, but we still got out of there alive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.